So, hello everyone, and thank you for joining me on what is set to be a powerful webinar jam-packed with insights. And it's brilliant to see so many of you hopping in on your lunch break. So, I promise we will make it worth your while. We'll be taking you through why mail needs to be part of your marketing strategy, what is already available to you with Klaviyo and ZAP Post, and really rather crucially, why now is such a key time for offline channels. So, if we haven't met before, hello, I'm Grace. And for over 14 years now, I have been creatively and strategically supporting big name businesses all around the world with their design and marketing. At ZAP, I'm available to consult on designs, be a second set of eyes, or clients can fully hire me to tackle all of their creative. Prior to my time here, I did 10 years on the client side, looking after design for a luxury interiors retailer. So it's very safe for me to say, not only have I seen the landscape changing, trust me, I have felt every second of it. There really is no time like the present for human, tangible forms of connection. That's something that I personally am a firm believer of. That and always having a box of backup greetings cards by my desk, just in case someone's birthday creeps up on me unexpectedly. Extending beyond that, and the reason why we are all here today is physical mail is an untapped marketing strategy that I'm very, very glad you've decided to join me here today to hear all about. It's now my absolute pleasure to hand you over to my guest today, who is Mr. Rich Evans.
Hello, nice to meet you. I am Rich, so I founded Get Better. Um, we are a UK-based, specifically Klaviyo agency. We took the decision to only work on one platform, which was a bit wild a few years ago, but it's been a good horse to back. So we work on the ecosystem around Klaviyo. We're partnered with people like Zappost, with subscription apps, loyalty. We're one of only two UK, and actually one of only 40 worldwide elite partners with Klaviyo, which meant we've just ticked a lot of boxes on the Klaviyo front. So yeah, glad to be here today.
Thanks, Rich. And hi, all. I'm Andrew, co-founder at ZAP, and have been a Klaviyo partner one way or t'other for the last 10 years. So this session is, as Grace said, is about direct mail. It is absolutely for both veteran users of DM, who've been using that channel for a long while in various forms, and those totally new to the channel. And to the question of why now, I think that is distilled down into two distinct reasons. One being technology, and regardless of your past experiences of how and if you've used direct mail, the way it is executed now with Klaviyo is definitively new. We're combining the Klaviyo's ability to send the right message to the right people at the right time across multiple different channels. And the new integrated approach is certainly different if you have done DM before, different to what you've been doing differently previously. So and why is the bi-directional integration that's key to this. So the Klaviyo journeys are pushing profiles as that post as they hit that part of their journey, the journeys you'll be very familiar with. And equally, ZAP is pulling from both segments and static lists profiles straight into ZAP. And that's kind of just half the story. Okay, so yes, that's great. And it's enabling highly personalized mail to be sent on a sort of just-in-time basis, very personalized to depending on various different campaigns. That's half the story. The other half is we've got to get this information back into Klaviyo, right? So that's all now. This is this sort of virtuous loop where we're pushing direct mail events back in that can subsequently trigger new real-time journeys in Klaviyo, and that's pretty key. And fourthly, because of that loop, we're also updating profiles in Klaviyo the whole time with correct address information, whether they scan QR codes whether they've deceased or gone away. Kind of information is hugely important, of course, and it's enabling full return on ad spend reporting. So that's the technology reason. The second reason I think we need to talk about is trust and noise in today's digital age. It's a common concern. I know we all share it. With so much information bombarding us every day, as consumers, we're sort of overwhelmed by the content, and consider that people are spending up to 3 hours a day on social and getting 120 emails, I think is the latest stat. The fact is our sort of collective attention span can now be sadly sort of measured in fractions of a second, which has got to be a concern. And so the physical, tangible medium of direct mail is I think is helping to reverse that trend. We're also encountering irresponsible, possibly lazy, definitely uses of AI and things like chatbots. There was a lovely article lovely, depending on if you're the particular brand, but last week there was a brand that was outed for having an AI chatbot that would refuse to refund customers for returned merchandise, and certainly would refuse to put them in touch with an actual human. So, those kind of uses of AI are going to erode trust pretty rapidly. And my latest obsession is AI slop, which is becoming more and more of a thing. I think what I'm trying to say is, all of these examples are contributing to misinformation and certainly further eroding trust. This image, talking of AI slop, is definitely AI slop, falls very firmly in that category, and there is a deliberate error in the image. And if you can find it, please use the Q&A at the bottom of your screen and tell us what the error is. And we'll shout you out later. And talking of Q&A, please use it. This is a Q&A session, so we'll fire in questions, please, during the course of this, and we'll address them at the end.
I don't think it's the deliberate error, but I'm very triggered by the amount of emails that are in our inbox. As an inbox zero practitioner, that is, I can yeah, AI aside, I can see why she's so stressed.
You're stressed. As we're sort of navigating this landscape as marketeers, I think it's essential we focus on responsible digital and physical marketing strategies that should help us re-engage and rebuild trust if it's necessary to rebuild. So just before I hand over to Rich, this session is going to demonstrate how DM is having a very strong resurgence, and particularly actually with digitally native brands as well, and gaining significant traction as an additional channel in the marketing mix. We're going to address a couple of myths and some facts about the channel. And we've also got some real life examples to share with you of what brands have been doing, Klaviyo brands have been, how they've enjoyed some success with the channel. But for now, I'll hand back to Richard.
Thank you very much. So yeah, look, for us, direct mail really is the comeback kid. I think I remember a time probably before GDPR where direct mail was a bit of an epidemic. There was just so much of it, you'd almost want to slap your recycling bin up against the door and just have it all fall in and then pick out what was good. I think GDPR did some wonderful things for us all, and then coupled with the sort of increased cost and availability of these things, it then all but stopped. I think the way that you talk about the integration with Klaviyo, I think, has been the game changer and why it's now really on the comeback, because it's a lot more accessible. We don't have to batch and blast and just send to export databases and send to everything to everyone in one go. The way that we can pull certain events and certain triggers means you can just treat it as an extra channel on your automated flows. I think in every Klaviyo account we audit, we always pick up the bloated profiles, where and people are paying per profile in Klaviyo, um, and a lot of non-contactable, either because they're non-contactable because they've opted out, they've unsubbed, or just because of pure unengagement. They are not engaging with emails, and there's a hesitancy to remove them because data and an active database is sometimes seen as a currency in some sort of circles, and we can't get rid of data because we've spent so much trying to grab it.
Mhm.
So having another way of trying to reach people, and a non-digital way as well. I think we are with SMS and WhatsApp and push notifications and stuff. Our phones are awash with notifications. So having a different sort of way of reaching someone where something drops on the doormat, and you probably get more than 3 seconds with that piece of direct mail, which is the goal of a meta video, is to try and get someone to look at it for 3 seconds. I think that piece of direct mail probably has more of a consideration. So yeah,
Yeah.
the opportunity is large. I think if you go into most Klaviyo accounts, you'll find that there is a heavy proportion of people that aren't being contacted, because of either hesitancy over their subscription status or because of just pure disengagement. So having this extra channel to reach out, is a real opportunity.
Mhm.
The way in which we've sort of found most effective, the diagram here is a really good way, but I think there's so many different branches and different other things that if we were to draw it out would be way too overwhelming, but opportunities as well. Essentially, the best place we found for direct mail is where somebody is lapsing. So they've shown repeat behavior before. With a subscription company, that would be that they have been a subscriber and they are no longer a subscriber and haven't been able to be sort of converted back by your win back flows and things. Or they've been a previous customer and then have recently been onto site and abandoned, either a browse or a basket or another visit, basically. Now, if they're reachable, we can use a variety of digital channels, so email, SMS. We need to add WhatsApp now as well. That is here and it's happening. But with that, so much channel affinity. We want to be careful to make sure that we send it to the right channel for that person. If we can't, that's where ZAP and direct mail becomes the opportunity. So I think it's been available for a while, but the real beauty now is the way in which Klaviyo opened up its integration to allow tech partners to be able to push those events back and not just take. So it's the ability to us to know as well that that has happened. Send an event in so that when we can put them in a segment to go, right, they've had this. Then if they scan it, send us another event, because then we know that they're sort of back on a hook, and it might be a good time to sort of try and partner up that reach out with maybe another effort, an email.
Mhm.
Um, I think the test and control bit is really interesting as well, because over and above this sort of these opportunities, I really like the idea of whether somebody is reachable or not, putting a test audience to see how much impact it has when we also send a direct mail along with an email. So someone's engaged in their opening, but also, have a fraction of that audience, or hold back some of the audience to say, well, let's do both and let's see what the conversion rate is like there. Because old school sort of reach times frequency, I think, that if you've had an email and then you get a direct mail, and maybe you see a meta ad as well at the same time, because we've plugged that audience into the meta integration, just to know that we're hungry for this person, we're trying to re-engage them. Then it's that sort of moment where, oh, maybe this is a sign, maybe I need to reorder that fragrance or reorder that candle or reorder whatever the subject matter might be. So yeah, I think the ability to just add it in as another channel, to a centralized CRM system, is really good.
Cheers, Rich. Thanks. Look, I think you're spot on there. That flow is kind of where people start. They start with just focusing on those that are they can't reach by any other method. And that's where we're finding digitally native brands mainly who are dipping their toe in the water. Quickly, you start to find brands that expanding beyond that silo to actually brands. Consumers that are engaged, but to your point, are having this additional touch point. In terms of the purpose, aka triggers, in Klaviyo terminology, I guess, and again, I think you touched on quite a lot of this, Rich, but lapsing and at-risk customers are where the majority of the campaigns start. That's where you find a lot of the low-hanging fruit. The new customer campaigns are really interesting about brand building. If you've got a customer, you want a customer for the first time, and you want to reinforce the message, build the relationship with that customer, having a DM journey for that new customer is honestly well, it's tangible, evidently, right? And it really helps to build trust. Bit more tricky to monitor the return on investment on that one, admittedly, but it's all about building the relationship. Things like new season drops, capsule drops, they're always a winner, depending on the time of year and stock holding as well, of course.
I'd love to add another one to this list as well that I think is a real opportunity for some brands, and that is refer a friend. So I think, you often get a refer a friend email and things, but it just gets lost into your emails and stuff. And very rarely are we going to hit a refer a friend at the very moment that friend needs referring. I think if you have, and look, I can see someone on the attendee list that I'm not going to shout out specifically, but I've definitely discussed this idea with them. But if you've got something that is home based, so home furnishings, home fragrances, home candles and things, to have a postcard arrive, whether that is with the package itself or as a follow-up, when you're sort of presenting your home, which we all do, and you're trying to make it look good and stuff, when someone says to you, "Oh, where did you get that?" or "What's that scent?" to be able to have that either on the fridge or in the drawer with the takeaway menus and stuff, to be able to say, well, if you scan this code, we'll both benefit, I think is a real missed opportunity. I'd love to see someone have a bash at as well.
Yeah, very good call.
Yeah.
It's just got a real move on. Thanks, Grace. Yeah, just a quick one on this. Unsurprisingly, with DM, you need an address. Right? It's kind of a prerequisite. And if your standard implementation, whether it's whatever your e-com platform, typically Shopify, of course, that's injecting the address straight into Klaviyo, and you haven't got any problem at all. In ZAP world, address management is absolutely crucial. So obviously we validate that the address is good and it's not someone's credit card number or a telephone number that's gone in, date of birth, whatever. In fact, it is a valid address, but we also then send that off to a postcode address file. This is all happening automatically in the background. So we're validating the address. And if the address isn't correct, we correct it and push that address back into Klaviyo. So now you've got an accurate address that persists in the source of truth, i.e. Klaviyo. Equally, if that recipient is deceased or gone away, moved away, again, we won't send to those individuals because they're no longer there, and then again push this information back into Klaviyo. What's the point? The point is we're reducing down the amount that we send, okay, and therefore increasing the deliverability, theoretically, therefore improving the return on ad spend as a result. Just a couple of housekeeping bits. There is no requirement for consumers to opt in to receive direct mail, but you do have to give them the ability to opt out. So you can have a preference center, which is ideal. If you haven't got that, you can just have an email address, say unsub at brand.com, and that way you are compliant and giving your recipients the ability to opt out for future mailings. That was the only point on that slide.
Mhm.
Grace?
Okay, so we're now in my realm. I see tons of creative every single day, and the very best performing campaigns are always personalized, relevant, and perfectly timed. Now, I put an example at the top, and that is from my client, World Travel Holdings. They mail welcome back postcards out to travelers when they've just returned from a cruise. It's super human, with the concierge treatment the customer has come to expect. And if you can spot that person featured on the postcard, it's the exact member of staff who manages all of the recipients' bookings. So that's dynamic in setup, and it changes to a headshot of the specific account manager. This approach always results in really high number of repeat bookings for the client. And I'm told that one customer returned and booked 3 more cruises from one postcard. Similarly, but different, we've got Super Dry, which segments data on a male-female basis. So with this one, the pearl in the QR takes the recipient straight through to their checkout where their basket is ready and waiting for them. So a couple of examples there. And then I think Andrew is going to run us through reviewing and ROAS.
Okay, back to me. Thank you. Okay, so review time is direct mail's always been expensive, right? We all know that, and certainly when you compare it to email marketing, it's also been difficult to measure until now. So the best methods up until now has been the use of test and control groups. So you'd hold back a group, and you'd compare the incremental activity of the test versus the control. And at best, you would get your sort of understanding of that incremental activity. You could also measure QR code scans, but we probably all of us know that even you've got your UTM tracking and so on, that's really only going to give you a 1 to 5% view of the overall response of any campaign. So that's not good enough. If you've got a promo code that you're pushing in a DM piece or any marketing, but in DM world, that's going to be responsible for 10 and up to 20% of the overall response will be the actual use of that promo code. Again, it's just not enough. So now through the deep integration, this bidirectional integration with Klaviyo, you've got the very granular return on ad spend reporting that you can accurately and confidently measure spend and return on a daily basis. But of course, when you're marketing across multiple channels, you have the age-old problem of the attribution. How are you attributing sales when you are marketing and spending hard-earned dollars across multiple channels? Is it last click? Is it first click? Or is it share of click? And a share of click becomes expensive. Expensive, very complex to measure, and probably expensive as well. For DM, forever it's been a case of the standard is 100% of any transaction for a period of 42 days post the send date. So you may have hit the same customer with a affiliate link or emails or Meta or whatever it may be, but that is disregarded because the DM gets the 100% of the transaction. Whether you regard that as the right view, probably not. That is what it has been historically. Whatever you decide your attribution is, you've kind of got to stick with it so that you've got a solid view, like for like, over a long period of time. But so in the ZAP app, you've got the ability to look at all types of attribution, whether it's just the customer ID and/or email address, or the postcode and the actual physical address, or both. So you can start to understand the halo effect of the DM piece as well. But the real cherry on the cake for us is the fact that the reporting is real time and bidirectional, as I said. what you also have is the ability to trigger these new journeys. So when for example, someone scans a QR code, you can immediately trigger or put a delay of X minutes or days to trigger an SMS or an email off the back of them scanning a QR code, so to continue a new journey. So it becomes far more integrated. Equally, if something's returned to sender. So every day in the ZAP HQ, we get a load of postcards and letters that are returned to sender. We scan those. That sends the information back into Klaviyo. You can then start a new journey and say, hey, we sent you a letter. It got returned to sender. Let us have your new address. So now we're constantly maintaining a fresh set of data. So these are really this is new. This hasn't happened up until now, and gives the user the ability to communicate and continue the journey with each recipient. Let me hand back to Grace.
Thank you, Andrew. I love hearing about ROAS because it really is attributable. People say that it isn't, and it's difficult to track, but it's lovely hearing that.
Yeah.
We've heard all of the tactics, and it's time that I showed you an example of it all being put together and implemented in real life. I've picked this one out especially to show you today, and it's Only Curls. I worked with the founders, Lizzie and Hugo, on their in-parcel communications as well as their direct mail strategy. It was all prompted by an initial boom thanks to TikTok, but then a struggle afterwards to re-engage people digitally. Remember what we said at the start with the attention spans and digital overwhelm. So pursuing offline channels meant that they could add touch points throughout their entire customer journey, ultimately reactivating, re-engaging and fostering connection all around a shared attribute for their customer base. That, of course, being having curly hair. There's a QR in the bottom, so you can give that a scan if you want to read the full story. Give you a moment to do that, and then I'll talk you through the design.
It works as well, Grace. It's great.
Good. You are, hey? So here's the artwork that we sent out for them. It was a postcard. It's relatively simple, but you can see all of the personalization. So we've got a QR using tracked URL, a clear, concise message. And I really love this example because we've got a dynamic promo in the bottom right-hand corner, which adapts based on the recipient's behavior. In this particular instance, it performs as a replen notification about their mousse product. And it's such a great strategy for those boomerang products that instantly just sell out as soon as you restock them. So, of course, direct mail used to be about catalogs and sharing your entire subsets to your audiences. But this in particular is a direct mail signpost to get people back online. It's perfectly tailored to the recipient, who will no doubt hop straight back online, check out the product that they previously set stock alerts for, but they'll also bump up their AOV with add-ons as well. Now, this campaign, I remember, drove some incredible results, and I'm wondering next if Andrew could walk us through that, but there are a few others that are worth a shout out as well.
Yeah, I'll run through that. Look, we're not going to share our worst case studies with you, are we? So this one was utterly nuts at 162 ROAS, so £162 for every pound spent. It was an incredible campaign, and maybe. Yes, the content was great, and it was all of the things that Grace alluded to. But I also think their audience just weren't used to it. They just weren't used to getting mail, because of that demographic, and this was new. So maybe that was the reason. I don't know, but it all landed. The stars aligned, and that was an incredible return on ad spend. But similarly, there is a bunch of other case studies that, in terms of conversion rate. I mean, when have we ever heard of a 10% conversion rate? We've got a couple of examples of that. Lanks Shoes, another Klaviyo user, of course. And on the next slide, in fact, Lanks is worth mentioning, and they gave me permission to mention this. They actually did an occasion card to their top customers over peak holidays, and it was not selling anything. It just said "Happy Holidays" as an occasion card in an envelope, and just reminded the customer how many loyalty points they had. And that we haven't got stats for here, but it was an absolute outperformer. And they weren't even selling anything. It was just that relationship build that resonated. On the next slide, there's bamboo clothing. And Rich, you picked this up actually, which was that they sent, this is to me is totally counterintuitive. They sent a campaign out to their lapsed customers saying, refer us to your friends. Right? And, which I just thought that was wrong, but I was wrong. They got a
But I
14x.
think that's a common misconception that we make in e-commerce is that somebody that isn't buying again is lapsed, whereas someone that isn't buying again might just have had everything they need from you and they can still be enjoying the product. They just don't need to buy it again. Or, these businesses grow, and I'm pretty sure you can get bamboo out of home now as well. And
Yeah.
not many brands are tracking those multi-channel orders back to Klaviyo. So I think it's a common misconception that we make is that someone is lapsed when in fact they're not. So yeah, no surprises to me that something like that worked as well as that.
Yeah, I mean that's crazy. Spoke's another one. That's like an always-on campaign. Just happens every day basically, as people fit the. Is that the anniversary campaign? Is that the one? Yeah, so they've got an anniversary, which was your Spoke anniversary, the day you became a customer, whichever day of the year that was. So of course, then that's just replens every year and constant outperformer as well. So lots of different campaigns driving pretty stellar results.
Perfect. Thank you. So now I've got some stats for you on sustainability. Of course, any form of media contributes to carbon footprints. So here are a few things I'm especially proud of at ZAP. We print on FSC certified paper with biodegradable inks. We're proudly reforesting the world with every ZAP we post. And you can see a hefty stat at the bottom of how many trees we've added into the world. Currently, we are replanting in Kenya and Tanzania via our partner called Veritree. Now, should any mail get returned to us, it gets scanned, as Andrew mentioned earlier on, shredded by our partners at Shreddit, and it gets turned back into kitchen roll, which is incredible. It's a very circular approach, and I just love that. Again, you can give that a scan at the top, which will take you to the stats and delving into ESG a little bit more. So
Rich,
wrapping all of that up, I'll hand to Andrew and Rich to just encapsulate what we've spoken about.
do you want to tackle the challenge element, Rich, or do you want me to take it? Take yourself off of mute, though.
Classic. Very how very it's like with your next slide, please. It's very, very COVID of me. Yeah, look, I think the challenge is a never saturated inbox overwhelm on our devices and things. So what we're always trying to do specifically, in retention marketing and things is try and find different ways to reach the customer. So direct mail is that opportunity at the moment. I think that the challenge is for me up until recently has been making it pay, or understanding that it makes it pay. And so now where there's more of that, there's a dashboard, we can test and learn with different audiences and things. I think it becomes far more achievable because you've got that business case that you can make. And I know, that there's a question, isn't there, about the model that was used to track the Unicars campaign. Like with all attribution in e-commerce, there's going to be numerous different ways of tracking that. I think there will be always multi-touch points now. So having the events coming back into Klaviyo and us knowing that there was different touch points and then being able to model different attributions and stuff. So whether you've got external programs like Triple Whale or Little Data or Polar and things, the challenge will always be attribution. And if you believe attribution on every platform that you use, it's going to tell you that you've done about 4 or 5 times more revenue than you've actually been able to put through the
Yeah.
books. But I think touch points are what I always refer to. And if you see a conversion from someone that's had a touch point and scanned a DM at the same point that they've interacted with an email, and they may have seen a meta ad, then you can just continue doing all of those things, and that mix and those different touch points are working.
Mm.
So the challenge will always be, I think, proving ROAS, but now what you've got in place allows anyone doing it to do that better than they've ever been able to done before.
Yeah, I think that's right. And at the very least, what it does is a proxy, right? So if you're running an A/B test, for example, and you've got two different campaigns, one's running at a 5 at ROAS and one's running at a 25 ROAS, you kind of know which one's doing better. So that's one, and of course, Klaviyo and ZAP is very much enabling that whole A/B test scenario. Solution-wise, we can enable, because of that integration, real micro trials. So I mean, if you're interested in having a look at it, you should trial it, but with micro volumes. Just on really small segments, get comfortable with it, understand it, without making any long-term investments or even any big investment at all, and just see if it feels right, works for you, and you'll be able to see very quickly in your own, both in Klaviyo, in ZAP, and of course also in GA as well, because everything is UTM tracked, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
I think the other thing to mention is that the real-time element is hugely important from a point of view of keeping enterprise-grade clean data. It's essential, and being able to continue these journeys taken back from started in the digital world, went physical, full circle straight back to the website if you've managed to drive them straight there. But any other kind of interaction, again, you're carrying on that journey with the customer. So I think that's it, really, in a nutshell. Rich, Grace, anything else we've should cover?
I have had a question come through on the topic of ROAS and tactical timing. Which campaign impressed me the most from a results perspective? And I need to be careful not to let too many details sneak out. I interviewed a client last week. All I can say for now is that it's some of the highest ROAS I've seen in a very, very long time. So if you're connected with me on LinkedIn, keep your eyes peeled. I'll unleash it on the world there next week or so. But it's a phenomenal one. So that's all I can say for now. Just trust me and find me on LinkedIn at the end.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about, Grace.
My lips are sealed.
That one was gifting season, okay, gifting business, over right at just prior to Black Friday, and it was utterly insane, the response that they got, but also have done replen campaigns subsequently. So this is a requirement to replen the ingredients. Sorry, I don't mean to be cagey, but we're not allowed to talk about it until we got that case study signed off. But it was even that replen campaign in January has performed incredibly well. But our experience to date is, and where brands start, if this helps, is typically in taking lapsing customer segments, and those that you can't get to any other way. That's where you start, and then you start finding other silos of customer segments that you also want to engage with as you get more confident with it over time.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a bunch of impact. Sorry, there's a bunch of impact stories on the ZAP Post website, zappost.com/impact-stories, maybe. Anyway, it's there. Sorry, Rich.
I think that leads there was one last question I've just seen as well from Joe about having done split tests versus non-mail control to prove the results. Now, I've definitely seen these in action. I think the first opportunities I would say for anyone doing direct mail are to go to those audiences that you cannot reach on email anymore. So those first sort of opportunities that we talked about before. I then think there are some really compelling results, and I don't know if your case studies extend to this on the site. If not, I've got some to talk about offline, where you have tried those audiences that you are emailing and flows where they are reachable and stuff, but also tried partnering up direct mail with those opportunities, campaign launches and things like that, and doing those whole back audiences to prove the results and see that the inflated conversion rate. Then of course it's just looking and measuring up the cost versus the reward. But yeah, to answer those questions, they definitely exist in my world, and I'm sure you've got some compelling examples as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Any other questions, Grace?
I think any other questions that I've got my eye on, we'll take offline. But I just wanted to say thank you both for joining me. Rich, thank you so much. Your involvement has been fantastic and so many good insights. Thank you so much, Andrew.
As
Thank you.
Thanks for
always,
having me.
cheers.
Cheers. Thanks, guys.
That's all.
Hi. Enjoy your afternoon. Cheers.